Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It's Jack with Stronghold Strength and Conditioning, and today we're showing you how to build a strong and functional core for athletes. But before we get into it, make sure you take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Thursday, I'm putting out videos showing you how to resolve aches and pains, prevent injuries, and overall optimize your performance inside the gym, out on the field, out on the court, and in your daily life and routine, which doesn't get much better than that. So, take advantage of it. Ready? Let's go ahead and get into this one. All right, guys, the topic of the day, how to build a functional, strong, and stable core for athletes. And the first thing we really have to begin with is understanding that our core and how functional and how stable our core is actually dependent upon other pieces and parts of our body. So it includes the health of our feet and the mobility of our feet, the mobility of our hips, the mobility and health of our wrists, and the mobility and health of our shoulders. So if those four pieces are lacking or they're a little bit lagging behind, then they can directly affect the ability of our core to organize, stabilize, and actually brace well in functional movement and in our exercise that we do to help train that. So that is a big part to understand, that our core is not just independent of itself, it is a feedback, cyclical loop with the extremities overall. And the main reason being is because torsion, that is a big part of it. Torsion through the leg and torsion through the arm. So depending on what our base is, if it's our feet like me standing right now, I need torsion through the leg to stabilize my limb so that I can actually keep my core, my spinal column, organized and stabilized better. Or if I'm doing a pull-up and I'm hanging from my arm, I need torsion through the system of my arm to help stabilize that arm so that I can better anchor myself and keep my core connected through that anchor and keep my spinal column organized better and overall stabilized better. It's why if someone has poor mobility or strength through their arm, you see them rounding at the top of a pull-up, or in a squat, if they have poor mechanics down at the lower body there and they don't quite have stability from the lower body as well, that the core breaks down in the squat as they go to raise up. We see the spinal column get manipulated because the extremity is lacking. So that is a big key to really understand, and clearly we won't have time to get into all of those areas today. So I will put some links to my previous videos here: strong and stable feet, strong and stable hips, strong and stable shoulders, strong and stable wrists. I don't think I did that one yet, but we might put that one out soon. So I'll put those all in the description down below so you have access to all that content so you can kind of look into it and see parts and pieces of building that. And today we're going to strictly be focusing on exercises and a pattern of how to progress the core training and where to look to make sure we know what's weak or what's unstable and what's out of balance and how to bring that back into balance. So that's kind of where we're going today, so that we can now take our core training and that isolated core work and integrate it into our overall work. And that is a big key as well. We want to make sure that our training of our core is for organization and stability so that it transfers into our athleticism overall. And that is huge. A lot of us train core as if it is a bodybuilding type thing where we're really looking at just the aesthetic appeal of it and not the functionality of it. And that is a problem, because then it doesn't really transfer into what we're doing in our sport or in our daily life. So we need to start thinking of our core as something that is always active during whatever movement or process that we're doing, and use our individual core training to strengthen the whole system of the core, and then put that into movements like squat, hinge, lunge, push, pull, carry, those functional movement patterns that do carry over into our daily movement routine and athleticism overall. So that is key. I primarily use my core exercises as activation exercises. So I'll put them at the very beginning of a workout so that I can prime those engines so that they feel engaged. I have that neurological mind-muscle connection prior to going into my main chunk of work. And that has been extremely helpful. It's how I program my client workouts, and it is something that allows you to feel first before just diving into what's the meat and potatoes and using them and just waiting as a reactive measure of, oh, my core will engage eventually. Yes, it does engage some, but we can actually prime that pump a little bit better so that it's ready to go. And getting into that workout, it changes the workout altogether. So today I'm going to show you some of my favorite pump primers and talk about how to build that strong, stable core so that you guys can do the same with your workouts and see the difference overall. Ready? Here we go. All right, guys, this is one of my very first positions I always start with people because it tells us a lot about the stability of their core. It's called a supine low hold. You're going to start by rolling the shoulder blades down and back, lifting the butt up off the floor so you can flex the butt, and then setting it back down, keeping that flex. We have a little bit of space underneath the lumbar spine, so it's a natural curvature to the spine. It's not imprinted there. And we're gonna extend legs up with the quads tight, heels just above the floor, eventually adding the arm extension overhead as we get better at this position. So what we're really looking at here is where we lack stability in this position. It's our ability to generate a pillar of tension through our core. Quads, glutes, abs, muscles of the upper back. We're making sure those shoulders are not shrugging as well into the ear here, so the shoulder blades are down and back here. Here's what it would look like if we have some poor stability. So if we lack stability, what we're going to look for is a caving chest or hip flexor dominant stability from the pelvis there. And that's indicated by the higher lift of the legs or an arching lumbar spine. So you might feel all those things in there. And this is the example of the arching lumbar spine there. Either way, those show instability in the position overall at the shoulders and the lower spine. Now here's also a way that I test the ability to stabilize in the frontal plane here. And that's a simple side plank. What we're looking for is a nice alignment from the head all the way through the tailbone there, even with the hips in line with the shoulders, making sure that we're engaging through that lateral subsystem pretty well, that underside of the arm all the way through the glutes, and able to keep those hips from trying to droop. Another big key here is shoulder stability. This one really shows when people lack shoulder stability, and this is often what it looks like. The shoulder gets jammed up in the ear and we start to lose and put a lot of pressure up on the shoulder itself there. All right, once you've tested and see where you lack some stability, we can start to identify and address those instabilities. Now, I always like to start from a supine position first because that's the easiest place to begin to organize and really stabilize from, because we can use the floor to help guide us. Here I'm showing a banded variation of that supine low hold. Now you can also do these single leg if you're not quite able to lift those feet from the floor with both here, but the emphasis is on the shoulder stability with the band in this one. Now we can also add emphasis to the glutes by turning it into a glute bridge and still incorporating the band, and you'll be able to feel that really connect the core from the hips through the shoulders, and with those abs really engaging quite a bit in this position here. But I love these for any of my hip hinges on those types of days. It's a great way to do it, or any pressing, because I can get the stability from that core that I want through the press and build that pillar. In coordination with starting in supinated positions, I also like to start with isometrics. That's a great way for us to really identify where we lack the stability. Once we can get those isometrics nice and solid and we feel our core engaging in the way that it should, then we can make the movements a little bit more dynamic. So here I'm showing a dead bug variation with alternating legs. So this is something that I might use on like a squat day where I'm activating both the glutes and the hip flexors, as well as stabilizing the shoulders from the top end there with the band. Once you get good at anchoring the top end, you can also begin to anchor the lower body as well. So this is a lower body anchored variation, and it really is a great way to activate those glutes as well as the hip flexors. As you can see, it kind of mimics the bottom of a squat position as well. So this is another good variety for those squat days where we really need to prime those hip flexors to pull us into the depth of a squat, as well as some shoulder stability. You can play with the arm movements. Technically, I could hold on to a kettlebell or a dumbbell and make it a little bit more challenging as I reach up overhead. There are millions of variations that you can use. These are just examples, and once again, the progression that I like to use to help build that core step by step here. So keep that in the back of your mind as we do this. All right, once you're very good at those supinated positions, then we can turn into the pronated positions, and that's something like a plank is a great place to start. Again, building up isometrics and then adding movement from there, where you can go into things like commandos or planks with leg movement like a mountain climber, things like that. Those are progressions that you use after you get really stable here in your plank. Shoulder blades rolled down and back, glutes engaged, quads engaged, abs engaged, and a nice straight line from the shoulder, hip, and ankle there. I'm also a big fan of bear crawl work, so getting into a good bear crawl position here, shoulders down and back, abs engaged, and glutes actually engaging in that hip flexed position. The thing is, I like to train planks before I do bear crawls with most people because of the adaptation of our society to hip flexion. We need to work those glutes a little bit more in most cases and build that up before we start training the active hip flexion positions. So think glutes prior to hip flexors because there's often an imbalance there. All right, so we've built from supinated to pronated. From there, we're gonna go into half kneeling positions, and even tall kneeling positions can work as well as the next transition step here. For this, I love to work pal-off variations. So here I'm showing a nice pal-off press. And as we work in the pal-off press, we wanna make sure that we're engaging that glute of the hip that is down, the knee that is down to the floor there, as well as the glutes from that front leg. So I'm opening that knee toward my middle and small toes to stabilize the pelvis. And that is a big learning experience in the half kneeling position, how to stabilize the pelvis with the split stance variation here. This will transfer nice to your lunge work that you do because it is essentially a lunge. Now I do train anti-extension and anti-rotation prior to actually adding in rotation in most cases. So here I'm finally adding in some rotation through that pal-off half kneeling position and actually learning to control that rotation while stabilizing. You can see it's a little bit more challenging to keep that pelvis in the stable position because that knee that's out front will want to follow that rotation. As you get really good from the half kneeling position, now we can start to add in a little more explosive work from that same positioning. And that's where I love this half kneeling kettlebell half snatch. So I swing that bell into the hip there, there's a little half kneeling hinge movement and that explosive drive out into the snatch. Now, this is one of my favorites, but it does take some time to build up and get used to and really understand how to connect to the ground in that half kneeling position so that we are stable through the core. So take your time working up to this one, it will challenge you. After getting good at those half kneeling positions, then I like to incorporate some standing work. So here I'm doing just an isometric hold, kind of a farmer's carry. You can add carries after you get really good at the holding position here. Glutes engaged, 3 points of contact from the feet, abs engaged, shoulder blades rolled down and back with the thumbs opening slightly away from the body here. That's where we really get the core to connect well in this position. And taking that one step further, going with an offset load is another great way to challenge yourself. This is similar to that side plank position and what we were able to test in that. So here we look at the same stabilities along that lateral subset. Once we get proficient at all these positions, now we can get more dynamic and fun here. And that's where kettlebell Turkish Get Ups are one of my favorites to build core strength. If you notice, there's a lot of shoulder stability and challenges here, and that is one of the best ways to build your shoulder stability into the core. But we also go from ground all the way to standing, so we're putting all these different positions together in one movement essentially, and that is why I love it so much. It's very versatile and very athletically inclined there. And last but not least, have fun with your core work. Once you get really good at the basics, start to play with inverted positions, because we're organizing the core from the hands through the feet, just in a different way as well. So play with it and learn some inversion as well. All right, and there you guys have it. How to build a strong, stable, athletic, and functional core that not only helps you in your sport, but also in your daily activity. And if you guys start implementing this stuff today, I guarantee you will notice a big difference overall in how it carries over through your training and in your daily activities overall. So let's get on it. If you like this video, make sure you let me know by clicking that big thumbs up down below, and take a moment to share this one with a friend. We've all got a core and we all need to know how to use it effectively so that we can protect ourselves and also perform at our best. So show somebody some love and let them take advantage of this content as well. And if you have any questions about any of the work that I show here, make sure you do drop that down below in the comment section, and I will be happy to answer that for you. If you're looking to improve your overall mobility, which our core is a big part of that, and our core stability and organization is the first place to begin, make sure you take advantage of my 7-day mobility training challenge. That's linked down below in the description as well. And it is a 7-day, 15-minute, no equipment necessary mobility program that will help guide you through a little bit of a litmus test to see where you're lacking range of motion, flexibility, and overall motor control. And it'll help give you some steps as far as the very beginning systematic approach to mobility training and how we would want to approach fixing that, or at least the pattern that we would want to use, the system that we can follow to start to take steps in the right direction with that. So that is linked down below in the description, completely free. You can get started today, and again, no equipment necessary, so take advantage of it. Last but not least, if you have not already, make sure you take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Thursday, I'm putting out videos showing you how to resolve aches and pains, prevent injuries, and overall optimize your performance outside, in the gym, on the field, wherever you're at playing your sport, or inside of your daily life and routine. So, take advantage of it. Welcome to the Stronghold Army. I'll catch you guys next week. We'll be right back.